Is time travel the key to defeating Thrawn? Welcome back to Nerdist News. I'm Dan Casey, and today we're delving into a theory about the upcoming Ahsoka series, specifically the idea that this show could reintroduce time travel into the Star Wars universe. It could give us a riff on Loki or even Avengers Endgame.
Time travel!
We're gonna break it all down for you in just a moment, and look, none of this is a spoiler per se unless we're right about it, but if you want to go into the show knowing nothing at all, well, now's your chance to leave before things get weird.
Ahsoka!
Okay, let's get into it, shall we? The Ahsoka trailer debuted last weekend at Star Wars Celebration, and we haven't stopped thinking about it ever since. Between the crew of the Ghost and glorious live action and the promise of Grand Admiral Thrawn as the show's main villain, there is so much to be excited about. But one sequence in particular stood out to us immediately for what it could mean for the series as a whole. During the trailer, we see Ahsoka venturing into what appears to be an ancient temple. Now, whether this is a Jedi temple or a Sith temple, that remains to be seen. But it seems as though it's an access point for the world between worlds. This extraplanar dimension first appeared in Star Wars Rebels, and it's basically a nexus of space and time in the galaxy far, far away. It's the galactic debug room where one can access points in the past, the present, and maybe even the future. Naturally, the possibilities that it poses are endless. The world between worlds was originally accessed through a painting of the three Mortis gods, the Father, the Son, and the Daughter, kinda like Super Mario 64 but in a Jedi temple on Lothal. And given that we see Ahsoka in a similar Jedi temple of sorts, maybe another such painting could be in this temple as well. After all, the Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary included a mention of the world between worlds in the sacred Jedi texts on Octo, or should I say, the sacred Jedi texts!
The sacred Jedi texts!
Why does he say it like that?
Texts!
And we know the world between worlds was a location of great interest to Palpatine, maybe because of the mastery it would give him over space and time. In its most prominent appearance on Rebels, we heard echoes of Force users past, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Rey, and Master Yoda, all speaking about how the Force binds us all together. Each portal that Ezra passes connects to a different point in time. One portal in particular shows us Ahsoka's duel with Darth Vader, and Ezra winds up saving her life by pulling Ahsoka through the portal in the nick of time. Unfortunately, as Ahsoka realizes, messing with the past can have catastrophic consequences on the present and the future. Because when Ezra wants to try and save Kanan, she realizes that doing so would kill him and the rest of the Rebels crew because Kanan sacrificed himself to save everybody else. And unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it seems that the Star Wars timeline is one single entity rather than a multiverse.
That's not how it works.
Well, that's what I heard.
Wait, but who? Who told you that?
There are no nexus events or absolute points. Rather, changing a single event could have a ripple effect on everything else. In the wrong hands, that could lead to deadly results. Case in point, in the Rebels episode, Palpatine appears in a portal and is able to stare directly through it at Ezra and Ahsoka. And while Project Necromancer is attempting to make a beef puppet for Palpatine to pilot by the time of the Rise of Skywalker, past Patine could theoretically step through one of these portals and emerge to wreak havoc anew. But to totally step through, he's going to need some help. Maybe someone who could be trusted with secrets, or someone designated as the heir to the Empire. I don't know, someone like Thrawn. Now consider as well who Ahsoka meets in this ethereal-looking realm. Ray Stevenson's mysterious Force user named Balin Skull. Balin Skull and Shin Hati are the two orange lightsaber-wielding characters that appear in this trailer. And it appears they are named for Skull and Hati, the twin wolves in Norse mythology who chase the sun and moon respectively to try and devour them. And during the events of Ragnarok, these two wolves finally catch their prey and plunge the world into darkness. In Norse myth, Ragnarok ends with not only the death of the gods and the destruction of the planet, but its rebirth as well, and the cycle begins anew. In the trailer, Skull offers some words that feel awfully ominous in this context. This is a new beginning. For some, war. For others, power. Now, perhaps he's referring to a Ragnarok-like event that could be coming to the galaxy far, far away unless someone like Ahsoka can stop it. Maybe Thrawn coming to power as the heir of the Empire would be the death of the existing order and lead to even greater destruction. And speaking of Skull's namesake, as we saw in Rebels, wolves are intrinsically linked to the world between worlds. The Loth Wolves were strongly connected to the Force as well, and ultimately they're the ones who formed the portal on the painting to the world between worlds. The Loth Wolves also have a unique ability. They are capable of hyperspace tunneling. They can cross vast distances at faster than light speeds in the blink of an eye. And this is very similar to an ability demonstrated by the Purrgil, those mysterious space whales we saw most recently in The Mandalorian. And said space whales also played a crucial role in both Thrawn and Ezra Bridger's story at the end of Rebels. They whisked these two far, far away, deep into the unknown regions. As for the Thrawn of it all, well, the Empire's resident blue bad boy definitely seems to be involved in whatever's happening at this temple. Those red droids that are attacking Ahsoka outside the temple are the same model as the HK-87 assassin droids that accompanied Magistrate Morgan Elsbeth during her battle with Ahsoka on The Mandalorian Season 2.
Behind you!
And speaking of Elsbeth, we know that she's also going to appear in the Ahsoka series, so it makes sense why these particular droids, who work for Thrawn, would arrive at this ancient temple as well. Now, if you look closely, the temple itself even has a similar symbol on the ground compared to what we saw in the aftermath of the temple on Lothal's destruction. And considering how Palpatine wanted to access the temple on Rebels, maybe Thrawn's trying to get his mitts on its secrets as well. Or maybe it's because of a unique new ability that this trailer implies the World Between Worlds has. While the World Between Worlds mostly shows us glimpses of the past, the Ahsoka trailer revealed a familiar event from a different certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
We see Skull slicing, dicing, and force choking his way through Rebel soldiers aboard a ship that looks an awful lot like the Tantive 4. That's the ship that Princess Leia escaped on in Rogue One and was subsequently captured on in A New Hope. So is what we see here Skull inhabiting Darth Vader's consciousness in this particular moment? Is it an alternate glimpse into what might have been? The mind reels at the possibilities, but for now it definitely seems like time travel's not only on the table, but could play a major role in the events of Ahsoka. And all of this raises a ton of questions, like, did Thrawn gain forbidden knowledge by somehow accessing these various points in time? Will Ahsoka have to travel to the past to gain fresh insight into how to defeat her enemies? Will she travel to the World Between Worlds only to find that someone else already beat her there? Or will we see allies from the past join Ahsoka a la Endgame as she races against time to stop Thrawn from claiming his position as the heir to the Empire and bringing about that war that Skull warned of? Only time and time travel will tell for sure, but we'll be waiting with bated breath for more clues and probably rewatching the end of Rebels a few dozen more times.
I know what we have to do now.
Anyway, folks, there you have it. That's everything you need to know about the World Between Worlds and what it might be doing in Ahsoka. We've got you covered in the meantime with other Star Wars deep dives over on Nerdist, but for now, tell us, what do you think of our theory? Do you think that's actually the World Between Worlds? And what would Ahsoka or Thrawn even want with it?
The sacred Jedi texts!
Let us know in the comments below. And for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.